The swarming crowds on Memorial Day weekend made it clear that people are in a rush to get back to normal. So right now, one of the leading voices on the coronavirus is here with a reality check about the risks of opening or reopening the country. Please welcome infectious disease expert and author of Deadliest Enemy, Our War Against Killer Germs, Dr. Michael Osterholm. So, first of all, welcome to The View, sir. Back in 2005, you, like many, folks like yourself, scientists, people who are looking, said a world pandemic like this one was going to come, and that time was running out, and that we needed to prepare for it. So now that we didn't prepare, and the grim milestone of 100,000 deaths in the U.S. has happened, is there any end in sight, or are we going to be living with coronavirus for a long time?
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me. Let me just say, to put this into perspective, we're no further than the second inning of a nine-inning game. And that's an important concept to keep in mind as we talk about being prepared or how we're going to respond. About 5% of the U.S. population to date has been infected with this virus. Some areas like New York City, that's surely higher, but across the board, about 5%. This virus will not slow down its transmission until it gets to about 60 or 70% of the population infected and developing some immunity, or we get a vaccine that accomplishes that same 60 or 70%. So we have to understand, with all the pain, all the suffering, death, and economic disruption we've had to date, we're just beginning with this. And we have to understand this is going to be many, many more months ahead of what we have to deal with.
Wow. Well, Doctor, all 50 states have reopened at least partially at this point, and now the number of new cases are on the rise in approximately 17 states, which is concerning. But yesterday, Dr. Fauci sounded pretty optimistic and said that a second wave in the fall is not necessarily an inevitability. Do you agree with that?
Our center put out a document several weeks ago looking at potential scenarios to get us from that 5 to 60 or 70% level and how that might occur. This is a coronavirus. It's not a flu virus, which is the past experience we've had with pandemics have been largely around flu. So in this sense, we're not sure how it'll do that. It surely has acted like a flu virus to date. And in that document, we laid out 3 different scenarios that might happen. If it's acting like a coronavirus, again, with no experience, maybe it'll just be a constant peak and valley. Just kind of what we're seeing right now, just happening where we see hot spots like we're seeing in South America right now, in Africa, some areas of the United States. Or it may be just what I would call basically a slow burn, where it just doesn't go away, but it just stays. The third option is the one that concerns us very much. And that's one where, based on historic data for flu pandemics, we see a first wave that often lasts 2 or 3 months. Geographically, it's dispersed, but not heavy in any one area. Occasionally, one city might have more cases than another, and then it goes away. Literally, it goes dormant. We don't know why. We don't know what happens to it. And we go through 2 or 3 months of quiet where everyone thinks, ha-ha, we've won. And then it comes back with a vengeance in that second wave. That's what happened in 1918. And so we are right now in uncharted territory. We don't know what's going to happen. I worry if we suddenly saw a big decrease in cases, that would actually signal it may be acting like a flu virus. That may sound counterintuitive, that I don't want cases to happen or people to get sick or die, but I surely don't want to see it look like a flu virus experience, because that can be devastating come late summer, early fall.
Doctor, we saw the crowds gathering at packed beaches and pools this Memorial Day weekend. No masks, no social distancing. People from the now infamous pool party at the Lake of the Ozarks have been asked to voluntarily self-quarantine for 14 days. But still, how far back does this type of behavior set us? I know I've been very concerned about the behavior of so many people who don't seem to realize just how deadly this disease can be.
Well, I think, Megan, really put that into perspective. We have to understand that, in fact, nothing has done what this virus has done since 1918. And if you look back, you'll see that 85 days ago, this disease was not even in the top 75 causes of death. Last month, the number of days, it was the #1 cause of death in this country. That's dramatic. So you're right, this is a huge issue. The challenge we have is we're going to be in this for 18 months, how or more. How are we going to respond? We can't be in total lockdown. What we have to figure out is what does put people at high risk. I'm happy to report that there is very little evidence that outdoors activities poses anywhere near the same risk as indoor activities. So, but somehow we can't lock down for 18 months. We can't at the same time let this spread willy-nilly. So we're all trying to figure out how do we help guide society through this. And I worry too about seeing large crowds together right now. I would also worry if I saw large crowds and the cases started to drop, because it would go to the point that I just made that this could be like a flu virus. And so we're in uncharted territories and we've got to figure it out. And we can't accept the fact that this is going to go away. It's not.
Yeah, that's very important. And today news came out that 6 feet may not even be enough to stop, enough distance to stop the transmission of that virus. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. Our center has been promoting this issue of protecting yourself as the key measure that we all can accept. Government can protect us to some degree, private businesses can protect us, but we can protect ourselves. This virus has a very major component of transmission called aerosols. Every time I speak, I'm taking literally hundreds to thousands of little tiny microscopic drops that are coming out of my mouth and filling this room. If you want to know what an aerosol looks like, think about the last time you saw the sunlight coming into your house and you looked in that sunbeam and thought, oh my, I have a dusty house. Those are aerosols floating. Same thing if you go to a department store, you're 4 aisles away, but you can smell the perfume. That's an aerosol. Every time we speak, that happens. If you were in my office here with me right now, after me speaking for a couple of minutes, there would be aerosols here. So it is more than 6 feet. However, the closer you are to someone and the further away you get, the risk drops substantially. And outdoors, it's much less than it is indoors, where there the virus stays in rooms and it's only changed with the air changes. Where outdoors, the wind, the movement of the air itself will dissipate these much more quickly. That's why being outdoors right now is one of the safest places you can be.